We're going to talk about methods for multiplying two whole numbers together. We're going to go through three methods in the order that children would typically learn them and the grade levels that they do for each. So we're going to start with partial products, which is fourth grade, then move on to lattice, also fourth grade, and then finally the standard algorithm, which is probably the most common method and the one that most people probably remember learning. So we're going to start with partial products. We're going to start with some simple problems and move on to some more complicated ones. We'll start with 9 times 67. So there's vertical and horizontal methods for this, and it just depends on like the children's textbook you're looking at, which one they tend to favor. So I'll show both ways. If we want to do this horizontally for 9 times 67, what we're going to do is we're going to start by expanding our numbers. So 9 is a single digit. I'm not going to need to expand that, but 67, I could write that in expanded form as 60 plus 7. And then we're going to apply the distributive property. So if I distribute the 9 times each term in the parentheses, then that's going to give me 9 times 60 plus 9 times 7. And then I'm going to calculate both of those products. So if I do 9 times 60, 9 times 6 is 54. So that means 9 times 60 would be 540. And then 9 times 7 is going to give me 63. And so then we're just going to add those two things together. And in this case, I can see that I'm going to get 603. So I suppose I kind of showed that somewhat vertically, but you could also just keep going, right, and write it off to the side here. So that's our horizontal method. And then our vertical method, typically we would write the number with the most digits first, so 67 times 9. And then what we're going to do is when we multiply this, we're going to do the distribution or the expansion kind of in our head here. So I'm just going to start with the 9 times 7 and say, okay, 9 times 7 is going to be 63. And then I'm going to do the 9 times 6, but technically that 6 is in the tens place. So that means I'm really doing 9 times 60. So again, that would be 9 times 6 is 54, so 9 times 60 would be 540. And you don't have to, but if you wanted to, you could write off to the side where this came from. So this one came from 9 times 7, and then the 540 came from the 9 times 60. So this is just another way to show the same thing. And then we add those up again, we get 603. So if you want to do like your standard addition with regrouping, you can certainly do that. All right, and then we're also going to do area models that go with this method. We'll consider it a subset of this method. So to do an area model, we're just going to draw a box or a rectangle. And we are going to let the two numbers that we're multiplying be the sides of this rectangle. So in this case, one side of my rectangle is going to be 9 and the other one's going to be 67. And this is based on the idea that if I want to find the area of that rectangle, area is length times width. So I would multiply the length of 9 times the width of 67. But what I'm going to do is expand it. So instead of just 9 and 67, I'm going to actually split that up. So again, the 9 can't be split up, but we did expand 67 to 60 and 7. And then we're going to draw a divider to separate that because this is 60 plus 7. And then what we're going to do to label the insides of this is we're just going to show that multiplication. So if I wanted to find the area of this rectangle, that length and width are 9 and 60. So that's what I would write here is 9 times 60. Or if you want to go ahead and write 540, you can. You don't have to. All that you need to do is label what it is you're multiplying here. And then I could also find the area of the other rectangle. And so this one, its length and width would be 9 and 7. And so this is, my color coding helps here. It wouldn't necessarily be something you'd have to do, but it certainly helps so you can see like the 63 and the 540 where they're coming from with the area model. But the idea is just that, well, instead of finding the area of the whole rectangle by doing 9 times 67, I could find the area of these two separate rectangles which is a little easier, right? The multiplication 9 times 60 and 9 times 7 is a little easier than 9 times 67. And then the area of those two rectangles together would add to give me the area of the whole rectangle.